Hi everyone, my name is Alan. So welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to do a property in-depth analysis of a property that is actually going to preview soon in the west. So the project will be Sora. Okay. So where is Sora located? Okay. So if we look into the map over here, Sora is actually located right in the edge of right on the side of Jurong Lake Garden over here. Okay, so in the whole Jurong Lake Garden, there's only 3 plots that is in Yuan Ching, and Sora has one of the largest frontage over here, which have 300 meters frontage, where you actually get most of the view of the whole Jurong Lake Garden. And if you are a Westie or you have already been to the West, you have visited Jurong Lake Garden, you have noticed that actually these few years there's a lot of changes that's being done. They have been doing upgradings, they're doing renovations. In fact, this 90 hectares right at your own backyard, you do have water activities like kayaking, you do have a lake house that hosts a Starbucks, there's dining options, there's cycling, there's jogging options. So this is actually a recreational belt created for the people who are actually living in the West. Okay, and if you look into the dotted lines over here, you can see that there is a cycling track that is going to be created over here, where it's about 1.5 click away from the whole Jurong East CBD, which is the second district that we are talking about. The whole Jurong East, where you get your news from Jaden, you have the white side tendering. All these are happening around this area, but yet you are actually segregated by this recreational belt over here. Okay, so if we look into the project itself, Sora actually has 440 units available, from 1 bedder plus study all the way to 5 bedrooms. Okay, so this project is set to TOP around in 2028. Given the fact that most developers would actually do some buffer, you probably end it earlier, probably get it earlier, probably half a year or 1 year earlier. But of course, this is subject to developers building progress. Okay, and to highlight, I think if you look into the landscape, if you happen to visit the whole floor plate, I think the landscape architect has done a very good job in planning the whole space in terms of the whole Sora landscaping, because they actually utilize fully the 100% of the whole land plot as well to make up for the landscape area. Okay, so these are some of the architectural design that they have done up. Okay, but of course we are going through a little bit more in depth towards the layout later, as well as how we are going to compare in terms of pricing, so that we can actually make use of that to make a good to make a good choice of what we want to buy over here. Okay, so if we look into the site distribution unit over here, you can actually see that most of this is in a W shape over here, where you actually have most of your units facing the lake. They are designed in a way most of the bigger units are actually facing out to the lake itself, so they can actually enjoy the whole 90 hectares of backyard. The only units that are not facing the lake are the smaller units, the 1 plus study and the 2 bed 2 bath, where you can see over here you have 2 units, over here you have 2 units, over here you have 1 unit, and here you have 1 unit over here. So only 6 stacks that are not facing the whole lake garden, but you're actually facing the Yuan Ching Road, which is facing the HDB on the other side of the line. And in terms of unit mix, we do have mainly on the 2 bed and 3 bed. So you can see that this is really common for developers to actually focus on this two. And we have very limited stocks for the 4 bedder and 5 bedder, only 18 units for each. And they are actually quite sizable. Okay, so in terms of layout, let's look into, let's start off from the 1 plus study. Okay, so if we look into the 1 plus study layout, this is actually facing Yuan Ching side, where you have your block, your stack 13, your stack 28 facing the HDB side. Okay, only 36 units, not that much supply for 1 bedder. Okay, and if you look into the 1 plus study, this is a 538 square feet 1 plus study, which is a very sizable option. You can have for own stay, you can have a very good segregation between the living as well as the dining area. You also have a study that is located right in the master bedroom, which is something that I really like, because most of the time when we look into 1+ study, you will usually see it in the kitchen area where they use it as a storage, or they have a small little study without in a corner just for placing that study for the sake of placing a study, which is not very functionable. And in this sense, I think that they do a study which is in the master bedroom. It gives a very good flexible options that what the owners who are doing own stay can do. So in that kind of sense, if you are having this master bedroom with study, you can actually do up a collapsible wall, a sliding door to actually enclose up the study. You can actually use it as a dresser table if you need to, and if you need more storage space, you can utilize the space as well. And most importantly, when you use it as a study, you can segregate it out. There is an opening towards the balcony area. So if a couple is one of your husband is sleeping, the wife could actually be working at the study and walked out of the balcony without interrupting his rest as well. So this is something that I think that is very functionable, because it gives space towards the master bedroom, which is something I haven't been seeing for the last few projects or in the last few years, because the study is usually standalone. Okay. And if we are looking at 1+ study in terms of rental yield, I think this is something that I want to address first, because in terms of rental yield wise, the 1-bedder and 1+ study usually do not have much difference. Okay, so we are taking Lake Grand as an example. You can see that over here we have our 1-bedroom, we have our 1+ study also. Our 1+ study and 1-bedroom, in fact, if you look into the price range, okay, we can see that over here is 3,007, okay, but over here, if we are looking at 517 a study over here, we are actually commanding about 3.5K, which is not much of a difference. I mean, if you have a study, probably sometimes you may command a little higher, about $100-200, but what you're paying out for may be very different. If today we do have a 474 square feet in Sora, and we have a 538 square feet 1+ study, I will naturally go for the 1+. I will naturally go for the 1-bedder, because there will be a very significant difference of almost close to about 60 square feet. And if I do an average of 2,001 per square foot, probably you're paying another 120,000, 140,000 more, which doesn't make sense for rental yield, because you're actually paying for the same. You're paying more, but the rental yield is going to be the same. Okay, but what I see over here, there is an opportunity because of the unique layout that they have, which is to create another room in the 1+ study. So in fact, if you are looking at a 1+ study, you can actually convert the living room over here. You can cut up your living room to get another proper bedroom. So in that form, you actually form a 2-bedroom compact over here, where you actually have a proper 2-bedroom, you have one common toilet. Because of the orientation and how they place the toilet, it can be shared. The only thing, of course, with 538 square feet, you can't have a huge living area. But then this actually makes sense, because most tenants are not very concerned with the living area. Their concern is more on to how many rooms I have, and if they have a budget constraint. This is something to cater to tenants like this, because if you look into how much you can actually fetch for a 1+ study and a 2 compact, you can fetch about 3.7 for a 1+ study or 1-bedroom. But if you are looking at a 2-bedroom compact, you can actually reach an average of 4.2K, which is another $500 more. So meaning to say, you are paying for a 1+ study price, yet you are renting it for a 2-bed compact rental, which I think this is an advantage, and I would say a value buy if you actually make that conversion for a long-term investment strategy. Okay, because over here, if we look back of the unique mix in the whole project itself, okay, we only have 36 units of 1+ study, meaning that 1-bedroom is already in low supply. And if we are able to see, the next step is to go into 2-bed, 2-bath. There is no natural supply for 2-bedroom complex. So if you are able to do so, it actually opens up an opportunity for you to actually gain that differences by converting your 1+ study to be a 2-bedroom compact. Okay, so other than looking at just the supply internally, we are also interested to look into the whole current supply in District 22, because District 22 is in the whole, if you are looking at the Jurong HDB planning estate, this is one of the largest population you can find. But over here, our supply of 1-bedder and 1+ study is just 553 units. And currently available for sale is just 4% of the whole 553 units, which is very, very small percentage. So this actually tells us, gives us two indications. One is that owners who are buying for investment are getting a really, really good rental, and they are not willing to let go. So that is one. And second of all, if you are looking at just 4% over here, I think perhaps it also indicates that our 1-bedder in District 22 are very fast moving, meaning to say once owner starts to sell immediately or in a very short span of period, it gets taken up. Okay, so if we look into District 21, which is just next to District 22, they have about 966 units. Of course, it will be a smaller area with 966 units. They have a total of 11% that is available. So meaning to say it is probably slower, or for example, some owners been selling a little longer. So as time goes by, it accumulates. So that's the reason why the units available for sale are a little bit more. So in terms, if you look into District 22, in terms of 1-bedder, 1+ study, you actually have a very short, or rather I would say a very, very low supply over here, yet you are getting a very high demand in the area, especially in Sora. I think if you can convert, there's an opportunity you can convert into the 2-bed, 1-bath. This is something unique towards Sora, and when we look into the conversion, we also want to see whether there is natural selection within Sora themselves, or when we are actually looking at converting, whether there is such layout or such components for individual projects. Okay, so in terms of pricing wise, we don't have an indication of how Sora is going to price out because it's not launched yet. So what we will do is that we will make use of Lake Garden Residence, which is right beside right beside Sora, to make a comparison instead. So we want to compare something very unique, is that we want to compare the 1-bedder, which is non-lake facing, compared to good facing. You realize that similar to what Sora has, we have all the bigger units that is facing right outside over here. Your 4-bedder, 5-bedder, your bigger 3-bedders, and your 2-bedders are actually tilted to one side so that they actually still get to enjoy the view of the Jurong Lake Garden. Then of course your 1-bedder will be the one that is facing the HDB, that is not going to get any views over here. Okay, so in terms of looking at the HDB facing and lake facing, we are comparing the per square foot so that we know what is the price difference and what's the price gap. Because if Sora is going to adopt, I believe that Sora is going to adopt the same pricing strategy, given the fact that they are actually orientated more or less the same. But of course, pricing, if I'm going to compare price to price, it may not be a fair comparison, because ultimately there are different products, there is different layouts, there is different facilities that's available as well. Okay, so this is more onto a relative comparison between the price premium of in terms of per square foot for the 1-bedder as well as the 4-bedder, given the fact that they have HDB facing or lake facing. Okay, so if today I'm looking, and over here I'm looking at low floor, high floor, as well as mid floor, so that I can actually do a better comparison, because as the floor level gets up, and especially for the lake facing, usually if I'm not wrong, Lake Garden actually have a higher loading as the floor level gets higher and higher. 30, 50,000 can make up a very big difference when you're comparing units to units on a different level. Okay, so if we are looking at a second level one bedder comparing to a lake facing in Lake Garden today, they actually have a gap of 5.5% over here. So meaning to say the premium for the four bedder we are actually paying cheaper for 5.5% for the one bedder. But if today Sora is pricing it at a very safe range like what we have over here at 5.5 to 6, or even they are going at about 8 or 9% price difference, I would think that it is very well safe bet to go into the one bedder that is facing the HDB. But if we are looking into something like they are having a 3%, 2%, that's where I want to consider whether this floor makes sense, or is there any other floor levels comparing towards Lake Garden would make a better safe bet than the lower floors. Okay, and if you look into the mid floor on the 10th floor, you see a negative 0.8%, meaning to say per square foot, the one bedder is actually higher than what you have in the four bedroom. And if Sora is going to have the same or even lower, for example, they are having a 2-3% of price difference cheaper than the lake facing, then this is going to be what I call the safe bet as well. Okay, but of course, if they are going in a negative range where your one bedder is pricing higher than the lake facing per square foot premium, then we want to consider option whether this is something that we want to look in, or whether we can look into the two bedders if budget allows. Okay. So if we look into the two bedroom layouts, over here we have two different two bedrooms, two bed, two bath, as well as two bed plus study. Okay, so for the two bedrooms, we will go into two bed, two bath first because there is actually two layouts over here. Okay, but for the two bed, two bath, whichever layout that you are choosing over here, they are going to face the HDB where along the Yuanqing Road side. So similarly to the one plus study, they do not have any view. Okay, but if we are looking in terms of layout, I think this is something I would actually like, because they actually, when you first entered, the kitchen actually have a small little window over here, which is very rare to come by. Most of the open kitchen that I know of, they don't come with an open window. So this is something good to have. And most of the time when we are, this is actually B1 is where we call it as a dumbbell layout, where you don't have wastage of corridor, efficient use of space is usually smaller because they already erased off the corridors, but the room size are not being compromised. In that kind of form, usually for rentability or for investment rental yield, you would actually look at the smaller units. The dumbbell layout will make a better sense in terms of rental. Okay, but the only concern I have is that because they do not have the, I won't say I would say that this is going to be a disadvantage if I'm comparing to the 667, because the common toilet do not have any window opening over here, which is something that usually people would prefer to have. But of course, in terms of rentability, then if you're purchasing something on a smaller basis but still going for the same rental, this one actually makes more sense. Okay, but if we look into the 667 square feet, it is actually 21 square feet difference comparing to the 646. So this traditional layouts doesn't seem to be having that much of a difference compared to what we have in B1. But yet, what I like is that they actually have window opening for both of the toilets, which is very important for people who are buying for own stay. Okay, so if people who are buying for own stay and they are looking for rental, this will cater to more group of buyers who are willing to look into this. And because the master bedroom and the bedroom 2 are actually side by side, they can also do various changes to it. Because the wall is hackable, you can even convert part of the bedroom 2 to go into master if you need to create a bigger space for the master. So there's a lot of playability that you can do. If you really want to have a good dining spot or a game or extended living room, you can do by hacking away the walls in between the living room to make up to your own liking for own stay purposes. So I think with that small difference in 21 square meters, I would prefer, I'm torn to go towards the traditional layout instead, because if I were to get into the traditional layout and the size is only 21 square feet difference, if pricing wise is around 2,001 per square foot, I'm actually paying about 44,000, which the premium is about 3.25%, which I think if I want to have both options of capital gain as well as rentability, I think this is a small premium that I'm paying. So I would prefer to go into 667 instead of the 646 because of the layout and also because the windows in the common room, a common bath, sorry. Okay. And if we go into the 2 plus study, the 2 plus study are all dumbbell layouts. And once we step into the 2 plus study, we are all facing the lake. Okay. So the only difference between B4 and B3, the 2 plus study compared to the 2 bedroom, unfortunately, they are not having the windows even in the masters. Okay. Even the kitchens are cut off from the window opening. So, you know, you can't have everything. Okay, so I would think that if you are buying something on a investment basis, I tend to steer towards the 2 bed 2 bath instead. But of course, if you are looking at 2 plus study, effectively you are looking for a bigger space, and also some of the buyers who are buying for own estate, they are actually looking for the view that they are looking off, because Sora sells lake view. So this is something that people are really looking at for the 2 plus study. And to maximize your view, B3 will make a little bit more sense because the balcony is not blocked over here. But if you look into the B4 over here, the aircon latch is located partially against the balcony area, meaning to say you probably would have a sliding door, a wall over here. It will compromise a little bit of your lake view. Okay, but they brought forward what they have in the 1 plus study. The study is still in the master, so you can do a lot of variation, a flexible option towards the master, which is something that I like. But of course, like I said, in terms of B3 and B4, then I will definitely choose B3 so to maximize my view, because when people are paying for a premium, and especially 732 from a 667 jump is going to be the premium jump could be quite high. Okay, so you want to actually maximize what you can have over here. Okay, so but in terms of rentability, I would think that I would propose to go for the 2 bedroom. But of course, I'm not saying that 2 bed plus study doesn't make money. In fact, 2 bed plus study, some of the times, if you are choosing the right facing, the capital appreciation will be higher compared to the 2 bed 2 bath. Okay, so even for the 2 bed 2 bath, if I'm comparing the 2 bed plus study over here, Lake Grand over here, I'm looking at 4,007 for a 2 bed. I'm looking at 4,008 for a 2 bed plus study. So there is not much of a difference, even in the case of Caspian, because I really love Caspian's 2 bed plus study layout. In fact, you can see that they have a proper study. They can choose to have a landscape view. They can hack the way. They can use it as a helper's room. But over here, you don't really see a difference. You only pay $100 difference in terms of rental. So, in fact, if you are looking at the 2 plus study and the 2 bedroom, you are paying maybe about 150 to 200,000 of difference in Sora. I would think that the rental yield will not make sense over here. You will probably be going for the capital gain and having that view. So it's not, if I'm choosing against rental yield, like I said, I'll go back definitely towards the 2 bedroom. Okay, so in terms of the 2 bedroom pricing strategy, likewise, we will be using Lake Garden as a reference where we want to see what's the premium like for the 2 bedroom as compared to a lake facing 4 bedder. Okay, so if in fact if you look into the 2 bedroom and the 4 bedroom premium, you can see that the 2 bedder will be a bit more different. The price gap is actually larger because the 1 bed plus study, usually the PSF is slightly higher also. So over here you will see that they have a price gap of 9.4% on the low floor, meaning to say if Sora adopts the same pricing strategy, they are having maybe 11% or 12%, then I think the low floor is something I would take into consideration of entering. If they are going below at 5-6%, then I want to consider my options. I want to look at other floor levels, whether the premium relativity makes sense also. Okay, so you can see that the pricing strategy is very different over here. So you can see that 9%, they go from a huge huge 9.4% to 3.7, then they go up to 5.1%, meaning the difference in the price differential in the mid floors actually are smaller. So if this can be used differently as well, I would say that if I were to going from a bottom-down approach for the 2 bedrooms, for the 4 bedrooms, naturally I will go for the one with the smaller premium, which is the mid-floor. Or even I can go from a top-down approach because 5.1% and 9.4% is a stark difference over here. Okay. Then of course I want to also make comparison towards the HDB facing the 2 bedroom as well as the lake facing 2+ study, because this is the exact comparison that we have. We have one 667 HDB facing, we have lake facing at 732 square feet. So of course we cannot look into just the quantum itself, but we want to look at the relativity of the price difference. If today we are having that kind of a price gap on a lower floor basis, we will be going for 4.67, 3.63. So meaning to say the price difference, the premium you are paying is lesser in the high floor. Meaning to say the 2-bedder low floor would make more sense compared to the high floor itself. But if I look into perspective, I'm going 2 ways about it. I'm going to the 2+ study. Then in that case, I may go into the lake facing high floor plus study if I'm buying the 2+ study, because the premium is not that much. So in that kind of sense, it will work both ways for you when you are doing the comparison, because over here we do not have a pricing yet. This is a rough guide, a relativity guide, so that you can actually make use of what is available and do your pricing strategy, because you don't want to go into a balloting room when you are left with a lot of choices. If you don't have a choice, then of course, you know, it helps you to clear off your mind. But of course, if you are looking at, you are having the first 50 queue, you don't want to be stuck there with a lot of choices and you don't know what to choose from. Okay, so my recommended choice for the 2-bed and 2+ study, I will look into 667 at stack 20 and stack 21. Either facing, I think, is fine for the 2+ study. Okay, but if we are looking at the 3+ study, if we are looking at B3, the 2+ study over here, I would be choosing stack 2 and stack 11. Meaning to say, if I look back at my site plans over here, okay, stack 2 and stack 11 is over here. Okay, they are facing here. Okay, I would choose this because I would think that because there's some so-called blockage coming out from here, the 3 bays are inching out. Developer may price it with a cheaper than compared to the ones over here where they have actually unblocked views. Okay, the full unblocked view will be on a premium. Okay, then of course if we look into the one on B4, then of course they have, it's not my part of choice as well. So if I'm looking at total unblocked as well as I'm comparing to not really unblocked but just an inch out, and developers is willing to price it lower, for example a 50 to 60,000 difference, my take is to go for this, for a lower risk and better capital appreciation in time to come. Okay. Okay, so if you, like I said, B4 will be facing, B4's facing is definitely out of the place because it's over here and here where your 4 bedders and 5 bedders are. So you actually have more blocks compared to what you have over here with the 3 bedders are shorter. Okay. So if you are really choosing on a 2+ study, getting the facing, paying a premium, then I would suggest that stack 2 and stack 11 are my first choice, unless the unblocked stacks are actually having the same price point as what we have in stack 2 and 11. Then of course I will change my strategy over that during that point in time. Okay. So for the 3-bedroom layout, we do have C1 all the way to C5. So total there are actually 5 different layouts. So the entry for 3 bedrooms is 936 square feet. So like I said, once you enter into the 2+ study, you actually have all your units facing the lake itself. So over here, I think stack 4 and stack 9 facing the lake, you do have unblocked view, and you do have a very huge masters as well. In 936 square feet, you even have a small little flex room where you can do storage. But of course, the downside of it is that you have a shorter kitchen over here. You do not have a yard area. Okay, you're compensated with a flex. You have no windows for your masters as well as your bathroom over master bath and your common bath over here. So it's something that I would think that is a pity. If they would have, then of course, you know, it will be perfect. But of course, if it's everything, it will be perfect, and then price will not be that perfect as well. Okay, so over here, where we have on the bedroom 2 and bedroom 3, although you are having a full unblocked view, over here, because of the aircon latch, you only get a half wall. You have a limited view over here for your bedrooms. Your master bedroom will still have your full ceiling height, floor to ceiling height, full windows, but your bedroom 2 and bedroom 3 will have to suffer a little bit more, which I think it is still fine for a 936 square feet. I think it is very decent to have a good master, a good space and livable area. And you know, if you want to have a small, you don't really cook and you have a small kitchen, this will be great for people who actually are looking out for space in between than the kitchen. Okay. Then of course, if you are not looking at, you are looking at something bigger, unfortunately there is no smaller units or rather small paceable stack up units you can go to. The next step up you are going for is about 1098, which is almost close to about 140 square feet difference. You are actually looking at about 350,000 plus minus or towards 400,000 depending on which floor you are selecting to. The premium will be much higher. So once you jump into the premium, you will get a full household shelter over here. You get a yard area as well, and of course all your windows openings will be available. And in fact, the aircon latch is tucked at the back. You do not have any blockage over here, so you are getting a full frontage over at the C2. Okay, so if you are someone who has a budget constraint and you still need a proper yard and home shelter, I think C2 is something that I will consider if I can go for 1098 square feet. Okay, and you have stack 1, stack 12, stack 14 and stack 27, and in fact over here I will do a selection over there later. Okay, so if we look into C3, C4, they are 1152 1163 square feet, so you are paying a little bit more because there is a study in place right in the middle of the unit over here. Okay, so the only difference between C3 and C4 is that you actually have another foyer, small little foyer over here, which I think is something that we can do without, because a long foyer doesn't make any difference, or I can't do anything to it as well. Okay, but if you are looking at the study, having a study over here, then in that case I will look into C5 instead as my choice unit between C3, C4 and C5. Okay, so if we look into C5 itself, it has 1195 square feet, slightly bigger. Okay, it has a facing on the lake at stack 3 and stack 10 over here, which is the same facing as what you get for your 4-bedder and your 5-bedder. Okay, so this is actually a unit that actually gets a full frontage view of the whole Jurong Lake. And most importantly, you have a unique point of your study, because your study is located at a very strategic place. To me, I think this is something I will always consider in terms of coming into the layout of the whole space. If you look into the study itself, you can see that this is actually right beside your living area, and they do come with a proper study. And if you do need a proper study for a workspace, or you do have a helper, you know, this is perfect because your rooms are actually segregated nicely. Your study is placed further away from your master bedroom, which ensures a full privacy. Okay, and if you want to do a landscape 3-bedder living room, you can do so by hacking away the walls. Okay, so you can have a full frontage, wide frontage over here, which is very rare to come by, because for a 3-bedder usually we only have a portrait view. We don't really have a choice to change. We have a segregated dining, we do have a living area and a balcony, but we do not have a choice to actually reorientate our whole living area. Okay, so if you are looking at something with a study, I think this is something that's perfect. And one of the another two details that I find intriguing is that the placement of the door is very interesting, because over here they actually already help you to filter out privacy without losing the foyer space. You don't need to have a long foyer in order to protect your privacy. The door orientation would actually naturally open up. It don't allows people to actually peek into your living area. Okay, and all the 3 bedrooms comes with a good master room space. In fact, you can see that all of your master bedroom, the wardrobes are flush into against the back of the wall. So when you first enter the corridor, you will feel that it looks very spacious because the wardrobe is actually tucked at the back of the wall. Okay, and the most interesting part for C5 is that other than having a full ceiling height window, you get the full view of the lake. You actually have another 2 panels of window. So these 2 panels of window actually help you to enhance the natural light that comes into the whole space itself, which I think this is a perfect unit if you do have if you don't really have a budget to meet and you're really buying it for own stay. And I think this will be perfect for families who are looking to stay, to have the view, to have alternative or flexible options when your family composition changes. Okay, so like I said, if you're looking at C1, you are actually having a constrained budget. I think this is something that we can start off with, but of course, do note your toilets do not come with openings for toilets. The toilets do not have opening for the windows, so this is something that I have worries about. But if you are looking at the view itself, I think to have a proper 3 bedroom facing the lake, I think this is perfect for someone who do not need any extra space minimum. You do not need a yard area. You have a well allocated space. Then of course the next jump will be your C2, when you really require a proper home shelter as well as a yard area. And if you're really looking at having a window facing window opening for your master, your common, this is something that I think will suit a lot of family. But of course, even in the selection of unit, I will select stack 1 and stack 12. Okay, because over here, if we look into what we have over here is 1, 12, 14 and 27. Okay, so if we look into 1, 12, 14 and 27, we are looking, okay, let's look back into the site plans. Okay, so if we're looking at the site plans over here, 14 and 27 is over here. Okay, as a 3 bedroom, if you look out over here, you can actually realize that actually some of your views will be blocked because of the inching out of the 4 bedroom and the 5 bedrooms. Whereas if you are looking at, okay, let me just erase this. In fact, if you are looking at the stack 1 and stack 12, you have a full unblocked view over here. Because once you reach 3 bedders, I think it's important to consider such aspect even on the minor details, because it will affect how you exit subsequently as well. Okay. And of course, if you do have a budget, you don't have a budget constraint, then I would definitely recommend the 3 bedroom 1195 square feet. To me, it's perfect for families who are looking into a hybrid of a small 3 bedders to up to a 4 bedder, but this would be something to replace it as well. Okay. So over here, the 4 bedroom layout, I think it is something that is very interesting as well. So the 4 bedroom has a wide frontage. Okay, and they come with a private lift. In today's market, I think you don't have much units on a 4 bedroom basis that comes with a private lift as well. And to have a proper dry kitchen, segregation between the junior master, as well as you have other rooms tucked at one side. So you can actually utilize this as a guest room, and they do have a junior bathroom if you have elderly folks who are not so well in walking. I think this is something to take note also because they can live with you. They are actually easy accessible towards the kitchen, slightly more nearer towards kitchen. So these are the little details that I think developers has made some consideration to it. Okay. And today, if we are looking at the supply for 4-bedroom with a wide frontage layout in District 22, I don't think there's a lot of choice that you can have, especially in terms of size. And if you look into 1,003 square feet and above, you only have 84 units. Probably if you are looking smaller, you have 115, which I think if you are looking at 1,002, 1,003 is almost equivalent to the 3-bed plus study at 1,195. So if in that kind of sense, I might choose the 3 plus study at 1,195 instead of a 4-bedroom. Okay, and if you are because of the layout, okay, so nothing against the 1,002, 1,003 square feet 4-bedroom, but it's just a personal choice of having that layout. Okay, but if you are looking at 1,003 above and having a private lift, there's only 73 units in District 22 above 1,003 with private lift, and these are the newer projects that has been launched recently as well. So you don't have focus in 1,003 and above. I believe previously there was not that much demand requiring bigger units with private lift, but as time goes by, as the second CBD gets more and more prominent, these are the things that people are looking for own stay. Okay, and if we go to the 5-bedroom layouts, they are actually very similar to our 4-bedroom layouts, except for they have another extra room over here. Okay, similarly, you have a junior master, wide frontage, private lift, wet kitchen and dry kitchen segregated nicely. You have all the rooms tucked into one side, and most importantly, just like the 4-bedders, you are actually facing right outside, so you do get a very good lake view. Okay, and mostly for 4-bedrooms and 5-bedrooms, when you are buying something that huge, clients usually are actually looking for own stay rather than, you know, as an investment property to flip. So if you are looking at short-term changes or rentability, then my recommendation won't be at a 4-bedder and 5-bedder. It's really for own stay and people with holding power to hold for a while, because these units are not so easily out. Even though despite they are having a low supply, there will be demand, but this demand will come in stagger. Maybe after 1-2 years, it will come naturally. Okay, because to have such big units, it's not everyone's priority as well. Okay, so if you look into the supply for 5-bedroom wide frontage in District 22, you don't really get much except for our next competitor at Lake Garden, which has a 5-bedroom with a private lift at 18 units. Okay, if you look into the 5-bedrooms, there's only less than 40 units over here. Even we consider the older projects. In Lakeview, Lake Grand, you have 16, you have 17 units, and Lakefront you only have 2. So the supply of 5-bedrooms are not as widely provided in District 22. Okay, so what happens when you have a small, very little supply in terms of 4-bedroom and 5-bedroom? Okay, so in terms of having that short stack of supply, you actually have more purchasing. You actually have more buyers than what you can offer. Okay, if we look into where Tampines is right far east. They also have a huge it's also a huge estate. Okay, you don't see that much 5-bedders, 4-bedders previously as well. Okay, Mondana, there's 4 bedrooms. My Manhattan, there's 4 bedrooms as well. But if you are looking at 5 bedrooms, there's only 8 units in East Point Green, which was 20 plus years back, and at that point in time, it will probably be one of the highlights. And in fact, if you look today in East Point, probably they are still maintaining their unique selling point, and they still have a very good price point. Okay, and if we look into 2023 TOP Treasures actually have 110 units and 1,006 square feet 5-bedders. Okay, and only 13 of them are for sale. And some of, if you go to search on Property Guru today, some of them are repetitive. So in fact, you have very minimum supply in the whole estate itself. Okay, and when you have very short stack of supply and there are demand coming for a bigger unit, definitely your profit and capital appreciation will be there. Okay, so if you look into how Treasure have profited in the last few years, you can see that the highest it went for on the second floor. Okay, on the second floor it actually went for 981,000. Okay, I believe at that point in time probably there is not much supply. There is only one stack that that is available. Probably that's the reason why they are willing to pay for high premium, because these people who purchase units like this, they are really buying for own stay and not for investment purpose. And buying for own stay is a very different concept for investment, because investment we look into the numbers, whether it makes sense for them to translate. But if you are looking into the resale market today, some of the times when we buy, we are also buying with emotions. We are buying with what we like perspectively on a personalized basis. Okay, so in terms of Marymount, you can look into where we have, you can see that we have 5 bedrooms over here, but the rest like Thomson 183 Longhorse, we have 4 bedders, but we do not have 5 bedders over here. The 5 bedders over here we have is Jadescape at 39 units only. I mean Xinmin Plaza do have the 5 bedder, but I don't think I see anything for sale. And if you look in Guru today, Jadescape only has 4 units out of the 39 units. Okay, and once again, if you look into the rarity of having the 5 bedrooms for sale, you can see that the profit is actually quite high. At 1.1 million, you are actually sitting on more than $500,000 of profit while staying there. So this actually helps you to protect that capital down pay that you have made. You are still protecting your S while staying into the unit itself. Of course, like I said, this is for you to actually go into it and hold for long. You are not going to say you buy 4 years later you want to translate. I think it's maybe you meet the right buyer, you may do so, and at the point in time probably price has increased. But most of the buyers that we experience for 4 bedder, 5 bedders, they are really buying for own stay, and to sell it away and to find something similar in size, I think it's very hard to find. So most of the time they would rather stay first before they even start selling. Okay, but of course, if at 4.5 million over here, which is the highest, some clients do ask whether can we buy a landed instead. Of course, you can buy a landed over here. As you can see over here, Jadescape is selling at 4.55 million. Okay, and over here at 98 Terrace House Freehold 1680 is going at 4.338 million. Okay, and in fact, if you go along the street around the other side, this 3.4 million. I believe this one probably they did, it was not done up, so probably the owners who bought them are going to do an A&A. They're going to spend money to actually do up the space. Okay, so I'm not saying that you can't buy a landed with such so-called price point. The only thing is that some of the times we do have buyers who are not willing to go into landed because of multiple reasons. For example, some of them, they are afraid of the pests like rats, mosquitoes. I do have clients who tell me that they don't want to climb up the stairs from one story to the other. They rather have a bigger floor plate. So it caters to different buyers. But most importantly, when you come towards the 5 bedrooms and the 4 bedrooms, they are in rarity. So when it's rare, I don't need a lot of buyers to come in. I only need maybe 5 to 10 buyers who are actually holding that kind of budget and buying for their own stay. So this is the end of my property analysis for Sora. So preview will be starting in 22nd of June. So if you need, if you have any questions or you need analytical work done for you depending on what you're buying, do contact me. Let me know if you have any question. I'll see you soon in Sora. Thank you.